and welcome to my channel. As you know, if you've been watching some of my unboxings, I'm playing with some new toys, playing with my camera. So I've got my laptop camera pointing at me. I've got the photo of what I'm working on. Oops. Right, I'm actually looking at two screens. I've got the photo of what I'm working on. This is my whip in progress. This is for the hashtag drills and chills. I have a thumbnail, which I've now got embedded in video rather than having it on YouTube. I will wait a little bit longer to doctor that one on YouTube and remove maybe that watermark that they can also put onto the video. I have my main image, and if you take a look at this, look, I've got zoom in camera, and I got my nails done last week. So there's a couple of bits I need to fix, but yes, they're my nails for this 3-week period. Transition back from my zoom in, and hopefully you've seen my desktop. The aim is to be able to have high focus stuff on my right hand side, which will go to kind of here, just off camera. And I will have to do the switch with my transitions, and I've got to learn how to do them appropriately. And yeah, we'll see how that one goes. I have my drills and chills, which I haven't touched probably in way too long, in order to get, I was hoping over ambitiously maybe, to get 2 or 3 of these done, maybe 2 of them, as in the comparison. This is the dodgy Cami version, and I want to get stuck in and try and get this beetling along. So yeah, what's been happening? Oh, I didn't get my picture uploaded. I did take a picture of my mail. My mail is in a massive box. I will have it in my unboxing videos. I could... No, I'm not going to stuff with videos while I'm in camera. So yeah, I'm just going to diamond paint. I have a ton of packages to unbox, and then of course there's equally more editing to do to get it up on video, so you guys can share in my haul. I have had diamond pens delivered from Canada. These are 3 custom pens. I have Mrs. Coffee's present of Harbour Freight. I have birthday presents I want to show you, which is some colouring gear and some colouring books. 2 are still lost in transit somewhere, coming from the States. What else have I got in there? I have a package from Kelly Head from Kellen Designs. Let me see if I can tip my camera down, excuse me. Editing in progress. Alright. Hello. Yes, I have Kelly Head has given me some junk bags. I've bought them. One is to be given away to somebody, so they're not going to get that one unpacked. I'm hoping I don't unpack that one. That would be awesome that it's kept as a surprise, but she's packed them separate, and I think she was going to mark the odd one. So yeah. The person who is getting that is a fellow Aussie, and I thought, oh yeah, I'll save on the shipping and I'll get her something that I know means quite a bit to her. We're in touch very regularly, and yeah, it's nice being included in her family life from somebody who started out as a fellow diamond painter. And somebody I see on the lives all the time, and yeah, as I say, she messages all the time, and yes, she is somebody that I have in high regard. So I have that. What else have I got? I've got, oh, Fancy Nancy, Fancy Nancy Diamond Painting, Nancy Higginbottom, another friend of mine who I met way back on YouTube, and subsequently on Facebook. She is a stroke survivor. Nancy, honestly, you are incredible. So I'm so in awe of what you do. I know you had a bit of a turn today or yesterday. Today being Saturday for me doing my whip, but I don't know when I'm going to get this up. Nancy took a bit of a turn and had a fall, and her husband Jim had to go get her. And yeah, anyway, she plays with a package on the computer. I think it's called Sing. I could be wrong. Either way, this thing creates the most amazing kind of fractal, smoky, like coloured smoke, swirls and all sorts of stuff. She also creates diamond paintings. And way back when I started diamond painting, a year ago, she had a competition for winning one of her custom designs, and it said "Color Your World," and it's spelt the American way, so I was going to doctor it and spell it correctly. I think it said "Color Your World." I was going to doctor it anyway. I was going to get it spelt correctly, Australian English, in proper Irish English, you know. Sorry, no insult, Nancy, you know that. I was going to do that, and when I was so new, I was kind of thinking, oh, it should be reasonably easy to shuffle the letters out and to put a U in. How hard can it be? Because we spell it proper like. That's not a P, it's an R. So she recently went on to Zazzle, and Zazzle seems to be like a designer's space, and what they do is they upload their designs, and you can have them created on t-shirts, mugs, and any other thing you can think that you would have a logo or picture on that you'd want. Zazzle can potentially do it. So the first mug that I saw was the Color Your World mug, which is it's a really bright pattern. If I had thought about it, I might have had my image queued up, but I don't. It's a really bright pattern with a kind of colour burst in the background of the Color Your World. Well, she had got this on a giant mug. Now, my mugs for my diamond pens are out of space. I've got 4 regular sized mugs holding a range of Sharpies, diamond pens that I use, diamond pens that are just hanging around for show, and other secondary tools that I use regularly. So the 4 mugs kind of had their own purpose. Well, when I saw this giant mug, I thought, oh, that's going to help me with my diamond pens, and I ordered 2 because I figured shipping and everything else and helping Nancy out, and also getting me 2 giant mugs for my stuff would be awesome. So this huge box arrived during the week, and that I think was my Monday mail. What else have I got? I've got a pen from Made in Heaven, I think Kevin calls his pens. Nancy, I think, found him, commissioned him to do a pen for diamond painting, and he hadn't been doing diamond painting pens. Well, he is now, and I've got a pen in amongst all of those packages. It's red, I think, with a black line. black swirl through it. So I've ordered that, and he's up, I think they're already up to 1,000 subscribers. I could be wrong on the Facebook group, or 1,000 members. So it's doing phenomenally well, and he seems to be able to keep up with the demand. So yeah, got one of those because who doesn't like pretty resin pens, and it was a bit of a different colour. So I've got my 3 customs and my 1 made in heaven. I have some colouring books. I probably won't unpack the the Darn subscription. Mrs. Coffee enabled on that one. Brain fade. What is it called? Darn Good Yarn. I knew there was a couple of darns and yarns in there somewhere. So yeah, Darn Good Yarn subscription. Let me know if you're interested in seeing the Darn Good Yarn. The Darn Good Yarn subscription box. They're tiny boxes. They're shipped over from the States. They obviously ship worldwide because I get them, and they come in the post. And I don't watch Mrs. Coffee's because I want it to be a surprise for me. Sorry, Mrs. Coffee, you know I love you, but I want to see what I get for myself. I haven't actually made anything. You can, each of the packages in Darn Good Yarn are a standalone item. So you tend to get a skein of wool. You get a bonus, I think there was a brooch in the last one. I got crochet needle, I have knitting needles, and I have been getting this for about 5 or 6 months now, since Mrs. Coffee enabled ever so kindly into Darn Good Yarn. There's some really gorgeous wools though. There's one of them was a silk, and the colours are incredible. They're hand dyed. So not only are you supporting the manufacturers of these and the small businesses, you're supporting the subscription. You're getting something that's really good quality, kind of artisan quality almost. They give you a pattern, so you can make like there was a mesh scarf for one of the material that they gave. There's a number of different patterns, so you can crochet or you can knit. They give you both. Yeah, I think it's a really good enterprise. The box is small. I have one handy. Ooh, and I'm getting stuck. That's the size of the box, so it's really quite small. Comes in the mail literally like that. It's got the packing label on, and yeah, comes through. It hasn't got beaten up yet because the sides are reinforced, and yeah, it seems to be faring well than what I'm seeing on photos and Facebook and the like of people's diamond paintings. It's $10 a month, I think, for this in US, and I don't know how much shipping would be to the US, if there is any shipping. So it's really cheap for a subscription box, for some quality items. You can also buy from the warehouse as well. So yeah, that's Darn Good Yarn. If you're interested, I will try and remember to put links to everything I'm mentioning today into my description. Excuse me. What else have I done? Oh, I've got a Copic marker, my one and only Copic marker. I bought a red marker and it finally came from Japan, to see what a good pen is like. My husband got me, I think they're called New Touch. Again, I'll show you when I get them on their individual video. What colour am I doing? H. And I'll see how they might compare. I got red because I figured, oh, we'll get a nice loud colour. I had to buy it off eBay because finding Copic markers individually priced, I think, was getting silly price-wise. I'm sure my art shop in Hobart will sell Copics. They're a very, very good art shop in the city. But yeah, just wanted to try this out to get a set of was it Arteza I was looking at, or Copics? I think it might have been Arteza. 72 Arteza for me in Australia is going to cost $281 eek, plus shipping. Well, I don't know that I'm going to be quite as fanatical about colouring, given my memories of colouring when I was a kid. I had great images in my head, but I could not seem to translate them onto paper. I felt like I struggled to learn how to do it. So I've got some grayscale colouring books. I've got some other adult colouring books. I think one of them is in something Bennett. I think I got the greatest hits of his. I've got a couple of more in transit. I got Mandy Manzano's collection, and I got, I think it's Joanne someone or other off Amazon. I was watching Stitcherista, it might have been yesterday or the day before. I was watching Stitcherista. Excuse me a second while I turn my phone off. It's talking to Google. She had the gems pictures that she had put special gems on from her. Well, she actually bought them as well. Bought them off Amazon, but I actually have special gems left over for my key rings and my other notebook things, so I don't need to go and buy special gems. But Stitcherista doesn't keep her drills, so that would be why she had to outsource further drills. So that's one of the reasons why you might want to keep some fancy stuff, is to trick up other crafts. What else is happening? What else is in the box, to be honest? I can't recall off the top of my head. Probably some sneaky things. I did do some further sneaky purchases, and they are winging their way to other people as we speak. I have packages on the way from Wolfpack, who very kindly offered to get me some Doris trays, the 42 and the 72, all the small ones, and then the next one which had the large, medium, small collection. So I've got 2 of those trays coming. I got 2 co-tarts mailed to her, and she's put in some graham crackers. Graham, what are they? Are they graham crackers? It looks like it, the name Graham. Sorry, the graham crackers. Which I've never had, but every recipe that I've seen for cheesecake and s'mores says you must have graham crackers, and I'm finally going to get them and see what all the fuss is about. So s'mores are coming my way, and cheesecake, which means I'm going to have to go out and buy Bailey's. Oops. Because I do a Bailey's chilled cheesecake. Something that they do over in Australia is baked cheesecakes. I've never had a baked cheesecake in Ireland. I didn't even know it. I don't think that a baked cheesecake was a thing. So yeah, I have a recipe for a standard chilled cheesecake, and it uses gelatin to set it. it actually uses a thing of jelly, so flavored jelly. So my recipe calls for a lemon jelly, and then a glug of Bailey's, and cream, and the Philadelphia cheese, if you know what that is. It's cream cheese. So that's the go with cheesecake, and I will make some. And what I have done, I may even be nice to my glutard daughter and do one without the crackers so she can have the cheesecake top. So if you have people in your life that are gluten intolerant, as she is, she's not celiac, but she's gluten intolerant, and has been gluten-free for years in the most part, you can make alternatives, but they're not half as good. And you know what's funny, because she actually hangs out in a donut store for coffee and chats with her people quite regularly, and she hasn't had one of their donuts yet. I think it's very sad. But I'm quite happy to sit there and eat a donut while she's watching. I do tend to torture her like that. Now, speaking of her, she and I have cooked up a plan for showing her artwork. She does mostly line drawing, but she's also got some watercolor images, or pen work is what she does. She does a range of mandalas. She has drawn our pets. She has drawn other commissioned work, and she's an awesome artist, and I would love to see her do something even more with her skills, as well as having it as a hobby that she loves. So I will be doing a video on her work soon. I've ordered an image from her. She prints them with a special printer who does some excellent quality, and I'm looking forward to being able to show you some of her work. She's going to give me some pictures that I can show you that are watermarked, so they're protected from unscrupulous people on the internet, and I will be able to show you some of her images, and if you like anything, I will have links for her to be able to purchase from her studio. So I'm looking forward to that as well, and yeah, I'm very proud of my arty kids. As I said, I've got the images in my head. I just never really either learned or took the time to learn how to get it from my brain onto paper, which is a great shame, which is why I encouraged my kids to do it. At one stage, one of my boys was talking about being a tattoo artist because his drawing is phenomenal, but that didn't eventuate. He designs his tattoos alright, but he doesn't actually tattoo himself, and he's got a few now. Yeah. What else have I got in my mailbox? As I take a sip of tea. Oh, I've got shopping. We bought stuff that I was going to show you. I've bought a meter-long roller, which you can just see here. It's just sitting on the desk, but that's going to help me with my measurements. It's a steel rule, and will just sit there and do its thing. So when I get a canvas, I can pop it up for measurements and make sure everything is accurate. So that's a bit of a treat. They were chips, absolute cheapest chips in our discount store. My husband saw them and I said, I need one, so we had to go one each. As often happens when he goes shopping, he finds stuff and I then go, can I have it? What? Yeah, he doesn't share and I don't share, so I want my own stuff. Because actually, yeah, when I moved in with him, as he just reminded me, I had my own toolkit, and he is a bit reluctant to put things away as neatly as I might want. So I would give him a tool out of my toolkit, and then I would never see it again. It would be in amongst his stuff, which isn't a problem, but it was in amongst his stuff, and then I wouldn't know where it was the next time I went to use it, because I have high OC and I need to know where my stuff has been organized. So yes, I get my own stuff. So I had watched him get my knife, this one, off AliExpress, and saw how good it was and how comfortable it was to use, and went, yep, I need one of those. So again, yeah, followed his trend and went and got them. What he actually does is interesting, because he goes and finds the cheapest price you will ever find for that particular item. He will do his research, and he will cross compare, and he will pay as little as possible with free shipping. So these things are usually under $5. So I have to get him to send me the link, otherwise I'm spending way over and above what I need to get the same item. Cheese graters?
Well, the first one you found is, see, we'll use one for $60 and I said, oh, that one you get 25.
Oh yes, so I don't know if the mic is going to pick up what he's saying because he's over on the other side of the room. So cheese graters were a thing. I found them, and then they were a ridiculous amount of money. It might have even been on Facebook ad, but the concept was the cheese grater barrel that you vacuum onto the desk by twisting a knob. It seals it on, and you can grate then with the handle in next to no time. So I found this, or saw this. Concept was fantastic. So I sent him the link saying, hey, can we get this? Can you find it cheaper? And I think he ended up finding it for about $16 for the identical thing. And this is why it doesn't always pay to click on those ads like Aloe for... I don't know if you remember, if you viewed my unboxing of my, was it the green Celtic knot tree thing that I got, which is this gorgeous kind of oak tree with the Celtic swirls at the bottom. So yeah, that's the kind of thing that I've now got a bit shrewder in paying stupid money, and I'm nowhere near as expert level as him. I'm finding all these missing numbers. Yeah. Oh, another one again. Goodness me. This is the beauty of having, this is almost like having a heap of trays out, but they're not out and getting tossed around. What else is happening? Work is work. I've played around with my roster, and I have a extra day off every fortnight or every 3 weeks. It's kind of balancing out to do. And I tell you what, by the end of the couple of 5 days in a row, I'm hanging out for some days off for a long weekend, but the day off in the middle of the week gets so jam-packed with other stuff that it doesn't feel like it's a day off at all. So I really look forward to my Saturdays when I get to record. I get to chill listening to Mrs. Coffee, who is actually about to go live in 3 minutes or so. So I will keep going with this for a bit longer, and then jump on to the live. But then I've got all my recordings that I want to do. So now that I've found what seems to be a happy medium with my screen, with the thumbnail that you can see, with me, scary as that is, and then with my transitions for when I've got close-ups, the close-ups will really come into their own when I do my unboxings, and I want to show you, say, the AB drills or something closer in focus. So I've got 3 cameras on the go at the moment, yes, getting there when it comes to hopefully a semi-professional setup, but I still have no clue what I'm doing. I did watch, there was a video last night that followed on after, I think it was Rachel's her vacation talk, and I clicked on it because it was like 10 tips for YouTubers, mistakes that big YouTubers made when they were starting out, and things were like finding your niche and editing and setting up your scenes, and yeah, so trying to get some interesting tips from the people who have gone before, how I can learn my editing suite to make it better for you. I did have a subscriber let me know about my volume level with the intro and outro, and I've seen it before on other people's videos, so I'm trying to remember to drop the volume on those when I put them in. Otherwise you would get your ears blasted off. What else? Yeah, so there's the playing with the videos, there's finding out where everything sits on my screen so I can just glance and see where I'm at, maybe time wise, see where my images are, and yeah, I'll get there slowly. Oh, I did say to Mickey, who had pointed out about something, that oh yeah, I do my recordings mostly on the weekends. My time is precious with Sophie going to have a sleep, so I tend to wait for her to have a nap. I don't really mind if she interrupts when I'm videoing, mostly if she's not fussing. If she's fussing and crying, that would be frustrating for me, and you're not going to get the best from me, and she's going to be upset. So I try and work out my timings with her, so I have some time on the weekends that I do that. Sunday I try and get some of my diamond painting done as well, and then it's roast dinner time. So tomorrow, for instance, we're having roast pork, and that means first thing in the morning I've got to de-skin the pork, and the rind then gets put into the oven for a pre-cook and render, and then in the middle of the afternoon I will either take over from the husband who has been using his heat gun on the pork, trying to get the crackling rendered even more. He does a better job than me. He has even more of a fastidious OC nature than me, so he can have the patience to go even slower, whereas I get impatient and just want to blast through it. So we have had the really puffy, fluffy crackling that is absolutely incredible. My only issue really with it is there isn't enough. Yeah, it can be very frustrating when the crackling is really good and it's, you know, you have to share it with people. I actually bought a packet of crackling the other day. I was in the store, and it was just like a chip packet snack, but it was so highly flavoured by whatever fakey flavour that they throw on. It was a little bit overpowering, but the crunch was just beautiful. We do have an air fryer downstairs we keep threatening to use. I don't know if today or this weekend is going to be that weekend, now that I've mentioned it. Maybe we could drag out the air fryer and put a chip of meat of the skin in and see if the air fryer does any good. But that would be quite fun to try, as the air fryer would blast off everything as it's going and render it at the same time and puff it at the same time, and it gets hot enough. And if it doesn't puff it enough, we then use the heat gun on it to take it even further. So people might say we're really stupid, and I've seen Jamie Oliver talking about it when he's done crackling in the oven, you know, using his tray on tray method and all of that kind of thing. But that only really works if you're not cooking everything else at the same time. All he was doing was crackling. If we were having to worry about the potatoes and the meat and everything else, everything takes different temperatures, so there's just no way, I don't think, you can really do the crackling and the meat and the potatoes. And as it is, we struggle getting the meat and the potatoes to the potatoes being super crunchy but still fluffy inside, and the meat then being cooked through. So we cook quite precision like. It's actually a bit of a thing, the roasts on the weekend. My husband had a routine that he did, and I fine-tuned it when I came along. And things are timed. Google is in overdrive when we're doing the roast with timers and everything else, and things get cooked for 20 minutes. They get rotated as a norm. They also get rotated at the 8-minute mark and things like that, to make sure that they're not going too far. We've also got parsnips and carrots in the mix. So the parsnips and carrots being quite moist, you want to keep them moist, you want to keep them so they go chewy and caramelized but not charred. And again, finding that balance is taking us time, but we do this every single week, so we practice often. We critique each other and what we could try the next time. And yeah, so far so good. We're getting better and better and better. Last week was my birthday, and we had rib roast, and the meat and the potatoes and the veg were absolutely phenomenal, and we didn't have to share it with anyone. It was awesome. We just had the two of us and Sophie, and it was just it was the best. The meat was just like melt in the mouth and awesome. Oh, and again, the rib roast should have been something like $42 or $48, and it was reduced to $24. We only buy the really expensive cuts when they're on special, and even still it's expensive, but it's cheaper than it would have been on full price. So yeah, we try and be sensible on what we've got. The freezer is absolutely chock-a-block of food, which I don't know if we'll ever actually get to all of it. Oh, my husband has a plan. We're going to have another 20 children to feed and nowhere to put them. Eat the children. It kind of defeats the purpose of eating the food. So yeah, that's what we have to look forward to tomorrow. Back to work on Monday, and it starts all over again. I don't know why it is. Mondays absolutely exhaust me. I'm absolutely shattered. I don't know if it's the 2 and 3 days off at the weekend that I'm not doing quite so much head work, and working flat out to get my work prepped for whatever day is coming up, and talk to whoever I need to talk to and do all the serious preparation. I talk about having a paid job and not paid job when I'm sometimes in lives, because what I'll do is when I've got my desk job, I can listen to YouTube and it keeps me company during the day rather than having a radio going, or you're trying to ignore what's happening around the photocopier. And then I've got my frontline job, I suppose, where I'm kind of front and center for that job, which is what all the office work prepper is doing. So yeah, there's almost two distinct parts to it. So yeah, I don't get to play on YouTube or anything else when I'm doing my front and center job. I've got to be very present on that one, and I've got to be busy prepping when I'm doing the other, so it's pretty much background noise for me, instead of having a radio going, which could be a good alternative. We have a really good city radio station here that does Christian radio. It's got good ads, it's got, well, good as in they're not too many. It's a community radio station that I support. They have the uplifting little Bible messages every now and then. They have testimonial stories of charities that they might support throughout the year at various stages. But it's just, the songs are good family songs, so you're not going to hear the swearing and the dodgy songs about sex and everything else that you would get on mainstream radio. So yeah, again, it's the other alternative to music in the office. But because I'm next to the photocopier, the noise tends to spill out, so I prefer having an earbud in and listening in my own little world. My only thing is I have to remember to take the earbud out when I'm on the phone, otherwise I get loud. And apparently I'm loud enough. I don't know what it is with me on the phones. I think I'm probably trying to shout to the person wherever they are on the other line. I put it down to having some kind of hearing issue when I was a kid. All I can say. I had my adenoids out. Dad has said that it wasn't due to hearing, but I'm not convinced. I know maybe it was just a recurrent ear infections that I was getting. I do remember sitting in boarding school, actually, with an ear infection and my head next to the oil radiator in absolute agony. That wasn't fun. And then another time, possibly, had a cold and they gave me licorice cough medicine and I promptly threw up everywhere for the next, I think, couple of days. And that was the last time I ever ate licorice, because it was aniseed. And I used to eat the licorice all sorts that you could get from Bassett's, Bertie Bassett's, licorice all sorts in the UK, and they'd have the aniseed dotted ones. Yeah, used to eat all of those. Couldn't do it after that. Even the thought of aniseed now makes me squirm. Three arrows. These are like little feathers. So this diamond painting, I'm struggling to get the drill. This diamond painting is called Boulevard Walk on AliExpress. Cami Yee have it. It's actually the similar image to Graham Gherkin's Lover's Stroll. I bought it and did some comparisons with it. They've doctored it slightly from the image from Graham Gherkin, so it's artist's impression, is that what you'd call it? That they've adjusted some things. So the trees are angled slightly differently, and the lovers are not lovers. It's one dude on his own walking in the wet. Dude. Somebody in trousers. And yeah, it's probably only like 4 drills high, so who the heck could know. But the image has been doctored slightly, so I'm doing this in the square. I think Graham's Diamond Art Club, yep, it's also square. It's right next to me because, as I said, I wanted to get the 2 done during the drills and chills monthly special, 2-monthly special. I think we have a couple of months to get it done. Oh, get on. I think I need to get some more Blu-Tack in my pen. So that's what that plan is. I'm not planning on doing this on my lap in the lounge. If you happen to see my little lap table that I recently unboxed, I have exclusive use of the lap table when I'm sitting on the couch. The point of it being that it's either to prop up colouring or any other writing that I might want to do on the couch. And I have, in the last couple of nights, actually edited videos, so it's actually sat my laptop on it, and I've been playing YouTube on the TV after the husband's gone to bed, editing a video so that it can be uploaded for you guys to see. So it's been really, really handy, that little laptop table. And I haven't had to extend the legs, just with whatever way it's configured. My couch is reasonably firm, and the beauty of this with the short legs means that it can just fold itself back up the way it was when it came through in the packaging, the way I showed you in the video. If I was maybe in the bed where I've got doonas and other things that are a bit bulkier around me, then yes, I would need to extend the legs. But the point of it is, I don't think you can ever be regretful of having a tray table. There are going to be instances in your life where you are bedridden or chair ridden, or you need to do some work that you don't want to have on your lap, on your legs, at home. So I don't think it's a purchase that's ever going to be regretted. There are those little beady tables that you can get, like the beanbag filling in the back. I've used them before, but they're a little bit too small, and I wanted something a little bit bigger. And I thought having the angle, being able to put on this table, was really quite good. So that's what I went for. That was just an Ali purchase, and yeah, love it. Love that table. Very, very handy. So yes, except for the splinters. I've had 2 splinters. As I'm folding it back up and I'm throwing it onto the couch where it goes, I've got 2 splinters in, you know, the 2 days that I've thrown it. So I've got sandpaper now. My husband did open finger surgery this morning on his digital microscope. Yeah, toys. So he's got a digital microscope which has a little LCD screen that's probably 6x4 or 5x3. It's tiny, but it's big enough that it blows up your work that you've got on the plate. So there I am looking at my finger with the skin all blown up and scaly, and we're looking at this bamboo splinter through it. His daughter is watching us because she is an absolute wuss now when it comes to splinters, to the point where she will actually scream hysterically. We think it's because of other influences that have made her quite hysterical, and we've showed her all of this splinter removal. There was no blood involved. There were tweezers initially. I need to reclaim my tweezers. You know the tweezers that we get with Evermoment, the black tweezers with the narrow point? I can't see any in my mugs. Just a typical good quality Diamond Art, or even Diamond Art Club tweezers. I'm seeing if I can find any. Nope. There must be another one here. Here we go. Alright. So, these tweezers, let me transition you. And you see this here, this is my mark. So there's the tweezers, okay? They're pretty small. They're pretty pointy. They looked like they were absolutely massive on the digital thing, and they looked blunt as well, like they couldn't grab the tweezers, they couldn't grab the splinter or anything out of them. So it was really, really interesting seeing the tweezers up close and magnified. She still squealed, even though it was my finger that was there, but yeah, there was no blood. We ended up getting a needle, which still looked blunt in the magnification, but the splinter is out, my finger is no longer sore, and then it got treated with our fallback of metho, another husband thing. He uses metho to clean injuries, while I used to use peroxide solution. I have missed a drill, and I saw one and now I can't see it. It's probably just going to have to wait. Oh yeah, there it is. It's an F. And that was in a previous incarnation. Where's F? One of the first ones. So yes, he uses metho. A bit like the dad would use Windex in my Big Greek Fat Wedding. My husband is metho. But you know what? It actually works. So I'm converted to, much I think to his delight. We actually joke that he's always right. Unfortunately, he usually is. I know it's terrible, the ego of men. By you? Yeah. It's a bit sad. It's not about winning and losing, it's about him always being right. We were sitting down having breakfast, I think it was this week, it was like Monday or Tuesday during the week, and he reads the news or whatever garbage channel stuff info that he reads in the morning when he's sitting on the toilet. So he comes out with some conversation points, and can you remember what it was we were talking about? It was like, I don't know, something to do with physics and science and the densest neutron star ever found. It's a star that's about to go black hole or something. It's spinning at such a phenomenal rate that hundreds of times a second. And he's talking about this and I just start giggling because this is breakfast conversation and we're both talking about the whys and wherefores of centrifugal force. And it was just like, this is completely mental. Why are we talking such sciencey, weird, nerdy stuff at breakfast time? It was brilliant because, I'm sorry, I don't recall such intelligent conversation before. And it was fun, and yeah, it was awesome. So yeah, some of the wacky news things you find that's happening. Oh, you know what? In saying that, we had the Global Climate Change Summit strikes thing that it was on yesterday. As in Friday the 19th, 20th, Friday the 20th. All around the world. I didn't know anything about it. We got a notice on Facebook from the eldest stepdaughter's school saying if your student is taking time off to go to the strike action in the city, written permission must be in the school by whatever time. I'm kind of thinking, well, the stepdaughter's not currently talking to us at the moment, but I did wonder if she might go and do this. And it was confirmed that no, she didn't. But this is not somebody that I've ever seen actually be environmentally conscious. And it still astounds me that yes, you've got young girls like the girl, I'm sorry, I don't know her name, the girl who's initiated all of this over in, I think it was Brussels. She did the talk to all the grown-ups, and she has rallied people around the world then to support this whole fact that it's going to affect the teenagers. And yeah, she's so environmentally conscious. It was just amazing. Some of the naysayers were kind of jibing, you know, oh, I hope people walked into the city and all this kind of rubbish. But we in Hobart had the largest, I think they called it a strike action. It was a stop work thing. And again, I didn't hear anything from work either saying if you're going to take time off, as normally happens with strike action, if you're going to take time off, you need to check with your supervisor and blah blah, and you know, you have to make sure that the back fill is still there so that the emergency operations can still happen, like as a basic function in the office. So you still need to have people on the phones or whatever else. You know, you can't just, everyone steps away from their desk and walks out. That happens in a fire alarm and that's about it. So from that point of view, didn't even hear a message going around on the notice board saying, you know, if you're going to do the strike action. So I didn't actually know all that much about it. I don't read the local newspaper anymore. They've brought subscription only into most of the newspapers around Australia, certainly in this group of newspapers. So our city newspaper is either the paper newspaper, which you pay, I don't know, $1.50 for each day. It doesn't actually say much of any good anyway. Or you can buy it for an online subscription, which is something like $5 a week or something reasonably nominal. Otherwise you get, I think, access to 2 articles for free a week, and the rest is blocked as subscriber thing. I don't know how they do it. I'm sure my husband could tell me exactly how they do it because he's a computer coder, but either way, not really interested in buying a subscription from my local newspaper, which is possibly means that I miss out on some of the local stuff. I do try and get the national company, the ABC, but with Facebook algorithms you tend to miss quite a bit. I found news in general to be quite depressing, and a long time ago had to take a back seat from watching it. So that's why I didn't really know about it. Nobody was really talking about it in amongst my Facebook circles beforehand. Our local cafe said that they would be letting staff go to it and they would be walking down, but they were still going to be operating. And yeah, that was kind of it. I don't think my own kids went to it. One of them, I don't think, didn't even know about it. The other one doesn't work in the city to be available to do it. Yeah, but it was the biggest rally in Hobart, something like 27,000 people at this climate change thing. Hobart as a state capital has banned all non-compostable or non-recyclable disposable foodware. So if you go for a coffee in the city, it's got to be completely recyclable or compostable plastic, or I think they use vegetable matter on the top of the coffee cups these days, so it rots down. which is really cool. And to be honest, I haven't really seen any difference in the quality that the food packaging is produced in. So you'd get nachos, kind of Mexican food, even with the guacamole and everything else, in cardboard plates or cardboard bowls. There is one shop that my lunchmates or my workmates go to, which is a Japanese inspired cuisine. I think it's run by Koreans. And my colleague the other day had 3 dishes from them, one being a seaweed thing, the other one being a squid kind of salad, and the other one being a piece of sushi. And every single one of those came in a plastic tray. So I don't know how they're getting away with the non-compostable stuff, but he was like, he was asked if he wanted a plastic bag, and he went, no, I think I have enough plastic. But the local coffee shops, and there is one other Japanese restaurant that does amazing food, give you a wooden set of cutlery, wooden fork. I don't even think they give you a knife. They might have a spoon. They give you the wooden cutlery, and they give you a cardboard food box, kind of like a McDonald's, burger box, for your rice and chicken dish. And then, as I say, the nachos come in a cardboard box, and there's some really conscious, environmentally conscious businesses out there and business practices happening in our state, which is really, really cool. And as I say, I'm not noticing the difference really in quality. I have gone to the mainland. I've had a coffee on the mainland, and you get some weird coffee top from the coffee cups, for the takeaway coffee cups. But I don't drink coffee out anymore. I would maybe have one a week if I was pushing it. I have tea. Speaking of which, my tea is going cold next to me. I make it at work because I'm not going to pay $4 for somebody to get a tea bag, which isn't even a tea bag that I would want to drink, when I can supply my own for a tea that I really like. And I never thought I would hear those words again. Excuse me. I was in boarding school when I was in grades 5 and 6, so I was 11 and 12, and we had a pot of tea for the whole refectory, maybe 2 pots for the whole refectory. From memory, they were around 12 inches across or 30 centimeters across. They were big pots of tea. They were saucepan height, and they had the lid in the center and the handle in the handle, and you'd pick up this bucket of tea that had been stewing away for God knows how long and completely put me off tea. We probably didn't have an awful lot of selection back then of tea brands because it wasn't yuppie in the 80s. So it would have been Lyons or Barry's tea, and there was probably dead tea bags down the bottom of it. We actually had one of the nuns nicknamed Teabag. So yeah, I was completely put off tea, and I used to drink it because Dad used to travel quite a bit when I was a kid. For his, I think he used to train the trainers or something. I think that's what I understood his job was. In a company in Ireland. It was a government company, but he used to travel reasonably regularly. So he'd come back with all these treats. So on occasions he'd come back with things like real Turkish delight in the icing sugar. I was never a fan of that, but he would bring back some teas, and in amongst those were things like Ceylon, Orange Pekoe, and Darjeeling, and they were in these tins that were, you know, maybe 6 inches cubed, and there were all these fancy names, and you know, all you could get, as far as I knew, were the brand names, being the Irish brands, being either Barry's or Lyons. Rachel would be familiar probably with both of those brands. Yeah, so that was my experience with tea. So I liked those teas, and he would probably cook the tea or boil the tea, whatever it was, properly, so it was done, you know, with a reasonable time on it and things, whereas the boarding school, which just would have been stewed for ages. And as you get down, of course, it's stronger and stronger, and it was disgusting from my point of view. And yeah, they were feeding tea to primary school kids, which was very much seemed to be an adult kind of drink, but we didn't get milk. I know I got milk in school before that. We used to get 300 millilitres of milk cartons every, wouldn't have been 300 ml, it would have been like a quarter of a pint, because we had pints back then. But 300 ml of milk in a carton in primary school before boarding school, so we got these every single day as part of the initiative to get kids drinking more milk. But we wouldn't have had milk in boarding school. That would have cost them a small fortune, feeding all of us. Yeah, so I think tea was the thing. We might have had cordial on the weekend. We had cereal during the week, and I think we got fresh rolls, like oven hot rolls, on Sundays. We had porridge. I think I've got a hair somewhere, or maybe it's just the shine. We had porridge on a regular basis, and that was made with water, so it didn't taste nice either. My husband has spoilt me with porridge. I have got it here. That he makes, and he makes it with milk, and then he puts in a dollop of honey, and it's all kinds of lush. Sorry? Yeah, Tasmanian honey. He converted me from my clover wussy honey to something called leatherwood, which is this astringent flavoured honey from particular trees. And then we found the local honey shop, and they were able to tell us how they know which honey is which because of what the properties in it are. So we have these monstrous pots of honey now that is crystallizing, because real honey crystallizes. And yeah, before that all I'd had was Irish Boyne Valley honey as a kid. Actually used to have something called Ryvita crackers, which are a whole wheat cracker, and this was the thing that Dad used to do, so I learned it from him. He would have Ryvita crackers with a slather of butter on top, and then a dribble of honey. We had a honey jar lid on the top that had this kind of trigger mechanism that would kind of cut off the dribble of honey, so you wouldn't end up with honey down the jar, and you wouldn't have to dip your spoon in, which is kind of like double dipping because it had already been in the butter and all of this kind of thing. So there was this honey thing on the jar of the honey. So he would have Ryvita and then the butter and then the honey on top, and that was one of his treats. The other thing he used to do was Marmite, which for Aussies it was like Vegemite, and for Americans there is nothing like this. This stuff is hell on a spoon. You if you want to see people eat Vegemite or Marmite, look it up on YouTube. The videos are absolutely hilarious. You are basically supposed to get the tiniest amount on your knife, and you are supposed to smear it on your toast on butter so that it looks like it's barely been sun-kissed.
If you don't
if you don't like it. People who don't know what they're getting into will get a whole spoon like you're eating peanut butter or Nutella or something tasty. Do not do that with Vegemite. Please do not do that. You will have better results. Licking a road is my comparison with Guinness. Yeah, Vegemite is foul. It's horrible, horrible stuff. My husband, God bless his socks, had me eating this stuff when I was pregnant with Sophie, but he would cut it with honey. So we created what was called bumblebees, which was basically, it was a stripe of Vegemite and then it was a stripe of honey, and it was alternated on the bits of bread. That was about the only way I could stomach it. And it was so light, I hope. I never actually saw him make it. I used to get it on Saturdays in breakfast in bed. That was my treat. If you can call Vegemite a treat. But yes, the breakfast in bed was the treat. The Vegemite was just like, oh God, yeah. But check out some videos if you're interested in seeing what this strange yeast extract is. Yeah, it's interesting. I'll tell you what, if I get into making regular Pippa packages, and I know there is the latest thing, what would you do for a Pippa package jingle that Mrs. Coffee and Sherry from My Diamond Art Addiction have come up with. I will get like the you can get these in the supermarket. They're little like a lunch pack portion. It's kind of like the size of a McDonald's sauce. You know, those kind of little takeaway containers. I'll put in a little Vegemite with my treats, with instructions on how to eat this stuff. And yeah, you can have an Australian experience, like a real Australian experience. It's definitely one to behold. I saw an E. There's more E's I've missed.
So you can describe what the problem with the leatherwood was and why you changed your mind in the end?
Oh, the leatherwood honey. Yeah, my husband's just reminding me to go back and address the topic of the honey. Clover honey is quite sweet and doesn't have a strong flavour on it. Leatherwood honey being the strong and astringent honey, it actually kind of burns the back of your throat. That's the feeling I have when I eat it. Well, it's taken me a bit to get used to having it. I think I was sick with a cold, and he would make me something called Stone's Ginger, which is alcoholic, which is a ginger alcohol drink, and you can buy them in 1.5 litre bottles for, I don't know, $10. It's cheap as, it's strong as all hell, and it's probably like witch's brew. But he put the Stone's Ginger in with a shot of bourbon, I think. He didn't actually give me full ingredients, but that's fine. And then in a ginger ale to lengthen it as a mixer, and a spoonful of honey. And the leatherwood came through because it's a nice strong flavour. So the leatherwood honey was doing its awesome honey properties thing to try and help with the sore throat. So yes, it was quite good. So I was getting this quite regularly, and eventually got to the point where I was like, yeah, I can actually do the leatherwood pretty well. There is another, we actually have a bunch of honeys here. There's one called Stringy Bark. Stringy Bark tastes, in my mind, the closest thing to golden syrup that I've ever had. Stringy Bark has that less astringent quality, but it's sickly sweet like golden syrup. It's absolutely amazing, and really will work on syrup based recipes. I do have golden syrup, and I actually have been brought up on an English golden syrup called Lyle's, which we can get in the supermarket here. It's in a little tin with the lion on it, and it's authorised by the Queen. She authorises a number of food products, and Lyle's golden syrup is one of them, and it is beautiful. I grew up on it as a kid. I got to lick the spoon when my mum was well enough to cook, and I still use it today. It's really, really good. The golden syrup that we have in Australia is made from sugar, and I don't think golden syrup in the UK is made from sugar. The sugar in Ireland used to be made from sugar beet. I think it probably still is. Shukra is the Irish sugar company, and I went and had a tour when I was a school kid around the sugar factory, and I think ended up getting a gift of a box of sugar cubes to bring home. But it was really interesting in that they'd get these beets, turnips. They're special sugar beets, so they're sweet. They have these sugar beets that would be mashed up, and the sugar would be extracted, and these would be made into the sugar granules. Australian sugar is cane sugar, and completely different. Trying to get used to even the flours over in Australia were really, really different. The recipes just did not work in quite the same way as the Irish and English. No matter what I did, I still can't make Irish brown bread here. They mill the brown flour far too fine from the flour that they do in Ireland. You can't even add bran. I did try. I struggled and tried and couldn't do it, so I end up getting an imported bag that's got everything in it. It's like a brown bread mix, and that's probably an annual treat now with my Irish brown bread. So I can have my Irish brown bread. It used to be a thing that I would have Irish brown bread with butter and smoked salmon. It used to be a lovely Irish smoked salmon that you could get. Irish smoked salmon actually used to export, or people would come into the supermarket when I worked there, and they would have it vacuum packed and specially sealed so that they could ship it over or fly over to the States with it to give it to family who are ex-Irish. That's how good the Irish salmon was. But we have a fairly decent company who do salmon here, and I've made do with that. I think it's all cold smoked. Again, trying to compare. Sorry? Yeah. There is one that I think that does real smoked, cold smoked fish, but yeah, it's very expensive product. It is very much high-end consumer product, but as a rare treat. My husband doesn't like fish, so I don't tend to get it now. He doesn't like the smell. So yeah, salmon's not a thing because he wouldn't be able to go into the kitchen if I had salmon, or come near me either, he has said. And it's because it's so smelly. Yeah, not an option. Yeah. So foods from overseas, yeah, definitely a thing. I don't know how. I should actually sit down with Rachel sometime and talk about this with her. I don't know how she has found the transition from American food to Irish food. I've had to find a lot of substitutes or learn to cook completely differently since leaving Ireland. Cooking here, when I was in Ireland and the era that it was also in, they used ounces when I started cooking, and by the time I got to high school it was grams and milliliters. and the conversion thing was happening. All my mum's recipes were in pounds and ounces, so I had to convert all of those. Got to Australia and they use cups and grams, and I don't think the cups over in Australia are the same as the American cups. They work completely differently. So well, I think they're different capacities. So yeah, there's huge differences across cultures that I've found as I've lived semi-internationally, or tried to get recipes from the US even to convert, and I'm going, oh my god. And even things like you've got different grill instructions, so you will talk about broiling things, and yeah, I had to kind of learn how to speak American when it came to barbecue, and it's like, what's broiling? And I think broiling for you is grilling for us. It's when you have the heat element on the top of the food and it's only heating from one side. Is that correct? I'm not quite sure why the word broil came up when it's so similar to boil, but the function is completely different, as in boiling uses water and broiling does not. In fact, you probably don't want water anywhere near your broiling method. So yeah, very confusing for me. I was asking Mrs. Coffee about coloured greens the other day when we were in her live, and she was trying to explain it to me, and somebody said it was like turnip leaves. But again, coloured greens is a huge thing. When you look up recipes, it talks about coloured greens, and I'm going, what's a coloured green? Over here we've got so different names on veggies. Over in Ireland we'd call capsicums peppers. In Australia we call capsicum obviously. I don't know what they would be called in the States. Were they sorry? Bell peppers, I think is, yeah, it's the other name for them. They come in the red, green and yellow. You've got was it aubergine and eggplant difference. You call coriander cilantro over there. I think that's it. Yeah, so different names for the same thing. Trying to get my head around that, so I have to be mindful when I do look up American recipes for the differences. I had an awesome recipe that I got online years and years ago for M&M cookies that was from the States, and they're a soft baked, I think it's like a triple chocolate cookie. Absolutely delicious, but yeah, they stay soft when they're cooked. And then you've got M&Ms through them, or mini M&Ms, I think this one called for, and chocolate chips. I've got other recipes for chocolate chips. Oh, what do they call them? Toll House cookies. They're incredible, and again, had to get a US recipe for Toll House cookies. Found it somewhere and used them so much that my kids absolutely love them. And that's got dark choc chips and milk choc chips and white choc chips in the cookie, and because it's a soft cooked dough, they come out like a Subway cookie, which you can get in Australia for like $1 when you buy your Subway roll. And yeah, they're absolutely gorgeous. I like the softer cookie to the brittle cookie, I think. Yeah. Another difference with the Irish and Australian are the names of things. So lollies are lollies in Australia. They're sweets in Ireland. I think they're candy in the States, and you've got different names as well for the candies. You've got the hard lollies and things. So yeah, there's a little bit of lost in translations that we're trying to get around, and it's really helpful having people in lives who are able to say, oh, that's what that is, and you're able to tell us exactly what they are. So when I do eventually get around to having lives, if I get around to doing it, yeah, I'll probably feature a lolly or sweet every live so that I can find out what you guys call them. Boiled sweets might be another name. My mum was given a recipe book from my dad back in the 50s. I think it was 59. He's got an inscription inside it anyway. Hoping for good things from this, I think is what he wrote. Yeah, it's got the old English recipes for boiled sweets, and it's actually got a recipe for marshmallow, which I did try once. That was interesting. You end up with cubes. I don't know how you would make marshmallows in the little round pillows without having a mold. So yeah, made marshmallows once. Didn't have a machine blender for my egg whites, so I don't think I quite got it quite right, and I think they split, so I ended up with having something floated on the top, and it wasn't quite right for my marshmallows. But yeah, it was a bit of a thing. You can make real jellies. Like, it actually tells you how to do the aspic jellies. Oops, was that an M? I hope not. Yeah, so that was the thing that my dad hoped for, and yes, there's lots of English recipes. And then my stepmother had a book called Mrs. Beaton's Cookbook, which I've ended up having and keeping. I should actually inquire whether any of her kids want the book. I haven't really used it, but again, it's really old. I think she's got a couple of changes written in some of the recipes from that, but I would wonder if any of her kids might be interested in that. I ended up living with her from the age of 16 when she married my dad, whereas all the other kids in her family were older than me, so they, in the majority, had moved out. So yeah, I was kind of left with, oh, this is the legacy, and I'd borrowed it at some point in time. So I still have her cookbook. My mum's notebook I'm supposed to be transcribing for my kids. I haven't got very far. I've got one done and given to the eldest. The second one I still haven't finished. I'm very slack. But yeah, I've got mum's original handwritten notebook, and I don't use it because I'm trying to preserve her handwriting in the state that it was in the notebook. And it was just a little, must be like an A6, it's half the size of an A5 notebook, and that was her kitchen notebook, and it's got the, you know, flour marks and butter marks and all that kind of thing on the notebook pages, but it's mum's handwriting, and that's why it's been retired, in order to preserve that for me. But my kids still want the recipes, because I used to cook the recipes myself from mum's cookbook. Yeah. Actually, I was talking about it the other day in a chat with the Stitch Along group that I do. Heike had made a curry. I think she said it was a Swedish curry, and it was a chicken curry, and it had banana in it. And I remember my mum making a chicken curry, and we would serve it with green, Sharwood's green tomato chutney. Again, a Queen's endorsed chutney. And we would have the green tomato chutney and sliced banana on top of our curry. And I think there were raisins or sultanas in the curry as well. It was quite a sweet curry in the end, especially with lashings of the chutney. It was yummy. And that was probably made with the Keen's curry powder, which thankfully we can get over here, because that is a nice favourite of mine. We didn't get much Asian food influence when I was a kid growing up in the 70s. So we had the old English rebadged kind of stuff. So Keen's, again, I think is a Queen endorsed thing. She's got the crown on it or something. There's something special about the Queen endorsing certain products. And yeah, not that we supported, but I just got used to growing up with things like Weetabix, and it had the crown seal on it. Weetabix were cereal biscuits in a whole wheat thing, and they were boring as anything, but if you put sugar on top and you could use warm milk, they were pretty good. And it was a fairly standard breakfast that would sustain you for the morning, which is what you want from a good breakfast. My family were not into sugary cereals, although I have had my fair share of some of the sugary cereals. Yeah. So there you go. I'm just about finished. It has taken me a bit longer. It's 1.5 hours for each of these sections. This section was reasonably big. The next section is also equally big. Mrs. Coffee has been going for an hour, and I'm going to go and sign off here and go and jump in there. And I've got a really good sized section done. Really happy with that. Sophie is still quiet at her end of the house, so that's a bonus. She's due to get up any minute and have some lunch. Quick roll, no clicking, feels all nice and smooth. Turn the light off, and there is a tree, the base of a tree. And now we start getting into the reds in the bottom of this walkway, and yeah, we'll go from there. Cami are not the best of drills. They're not the most horrific either. There are a few tabs. It's fitting in the most part reasonably well. But I'm really looking forward, as Rachel gave me advice to do this before doing the Diamond Art Club. I've already done a Diamond Art Club in the round. Yeah, so I can't wait to do Diamond Art Club Lover's Stroll after this one. If I can, in the time it takes. So it's the 21st now. I've got 12. I've got 13 more sessions on this canvas, and then I'll be finished. No, I've got 13 more sessions on this canvas before it's done. So 13 days would kind of take me into October, which means that I could potentially at least start doing the Diamond Art Club Lover Stroll and get that finished. So that's my plan for the September, October drills and chills, fall, Halloween kind of collaboration and get together, yeah, we'll see how that goes. I hope you enjoyed my multi-screen. I'm getting some good feedback that people are enjoying it, so yes, I'm trying to look at the camera or not and ignore it. But you can see me jabber away on the side, you can see me do my work, you can see what I'm working on here. And yeah, you'll be able to see me zoom to close-up stuff, and you will definitely see that come to the fore when I start doing my unboxing later after Mrs. Coffee's chat. So thank you for watching, thank you for joining me for me prattling on about food, and now it's lunchtime and I'm starving. So I hope you've enjoyed maybe some of the cultural differences. I think I started off not actually knowing what I was going to talk about. I had random tag on another page if I was going to need it, but hey, I didn't need it. So I have a plan. I will get Vegemite stocked up, and if I ask you for your address, watch out, because you might have a pip package at some point in the future. Not making any promises, but you never know. Yes, I will see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.